Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Education Candidates Forum, sponsored by the Hoboken Quality of Life Coalition. Normally I do a little bit of an intro, but because tonight is so busy with so many other alternative activities, I wanted to pretty much get right into the program. I wanted to introduce our moderator, Bob Bowden, who will be asking the questions of the candidates. Many of you know him. He has been kind enough to offer his time to work on these forums with the Quality of Life Coalition for many years. He produces a daily national education newswire called Choice Media, and I'm sure he promises to bring us some levity, some gravitas, and to keep some interesting conversation going amongst the candidates. So
the order will be randomized each time, if it works right. And so I just did it the first time here, and so we will use that for opening statements, which will be 1 minute each. And it begins here.
First, I'd like to thank everyone joining us here this evening. The fact that you're here shows that not only are you committed to our children, but also to our community. So thank you for having me. My name is Jessica Nelson. I'm candidate number 3. I am a mother of twin 5-year-old daughters who attend public school at Hoboken Charter. I have been working here as a realtor, and I've heard and witnessed some things, and rather than judge or complain, I saw this opportunity and wanted to become involved and to be a part of progress and the betterment for our children. Thank you.
Next opening statement, Mr. Benway.
Once again, thank you everyone for attending tonight. Shows your real interest in our education system, and should be a fun night. Personally, I am a graduate of Hoboken High School in 1990. Been involved in education for over 20 years as a teacher and a coach. You get involved in education and make a difference in a kid's life. And I know I've done that over the past 20 years, because when they come back and say, "Thank you, Mr. Benway, I enjoyed your class so much. Thanks, coach, you really made a difference in my life." You know you did your job. And now this opportunity has presented itself to make a difference in even more kids' lives. I have 2 kids of my own, a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old at Calabro Public School in Hoboken. And it's my turn to make sure they get the education that I have wanted for all kids for the last 20 years. And I'm excited to be a part of this process. Thank you.
Ms. Evans.
Okay, I'd like to thank the QLC for hosting this event, the Elks for having us here, and everyone for coming out tonight for this important discussion. I'm a proud district parent of 2 children who attend Wallace School, a 4th grader and a 1st grader, and I became involved in the schools when my older daughter entered kindergarten. I began volunteering in the schools and also attending board meetings, and I could see, both as a parent as someone attending board meetings, how much progress was being made in the schools, and so I ran for the board 3 years ago to keep that progress going, and I'm really proud of the things that have been accomplished over that time frame. In particular, the new programs and services that we've introduced to challenge and support our children. I'm also extremely proud to be part of the board that brought Dr. Christine Johnson to Hoboken as our superintendent, and the amazing energy and vision that she's bringing to our schools. I'm seeking re-election to keep the district moving forward and keep the progress going in our schools. Thank you.
Next, Ms. Rossini.
Good evening. Thank you, QLC and the Elks Club, for hosting this important forum. My name is Jenny Rossini, and I am running on the Parents United ticket for school board. I have lived in Hoboken for 13 years. My husband and I have a 5-year-old son who is in the special education program in kindergarten at Wallace School. I am a full-time working mother who has been an executive in the jewelry industry for the past 16 years. I'm running for school board because I love Hoboken and the diverse, inclusive community that lives here. Like most parents, though, I am concerned about the education that my son will receive as he grows older. Not only do I want to improve education for my son and see that he gets all of the services that he needs, but I want to improve education for all of Hoboken's public school children. I want to figure out creative and collaborative ways for the high school to be a destination for all Hoboken families will seriously consider sending their children to. I have heard too many times I wish I could send my children to Hoboken High. I'm a good candidate for school board because with my business background, I bring an unbiased, educated perspective to the board.
Time.
And I guess that's time.
Yes.
Thanks.
Ms. Sobolov.
Hello. I'd like to thank the QLC and the... Oh, is this on? Sorry. It's such an important community discussion. My name is Irene Sobolov. I'm from Hoboken and a proud product of the Hoboken Public Schools. And then I went on to receive my master's degree in urban planning. I have been a community volunteer my entire life, first volunteering alongside my parents, then as a co-founder of the Hoboken Family Alliance, and later in the district PTOs. I attended Board of Ed meetings for about 5 years before I was unanimously appointed to the board in 2009 and later elected in 2010. I have missed only one board meeting or committee meeting during all those years because I believe that the public, when they elect you, they expect you to be present to do your job. The schools have significantly changed since 2009, and I am extremely proud to have played a role in those changes. We have not only raised the bar, but I completely support Dr. Johnson, the staff and students by giving them the tools they need to accomplish the progress. The changes are real. There is a feeling of excitement and optimism above the students and the families in the schools. Thank you.
And Ms. Dallara.
Good evening. Many people often ask me why I do the things that I do. Why do I volunteer? Why am I running for Board of Education? My answer is my beautiful 6-year-old son, Alexander. He is why I volunteer with Picture Day, why I started a special needs bowling league, why I joined the PTO 3 years ago, and why I've been attending the Board of Ed meetings for the last 3 years. I'm an advocate for children with special needs, and it is all because of my son. It is because I am overwhelmed with gratitude that my most precious beings, including my 5-year-old daughter, Felicity, are in a school where they can reach their full potential. Moms will do anything and everything to take care of their children. Tonight, I will make a promise to always look out for your kids, as these hardworking ladies next to me have been doing all these years. I want to address the elephant in the room. And no, it's not Donald Trump. Hoboken has been through a lot, and our road has not always been an easy one. But there's only one way forward, and that's together. I hope we earn your vote. 1, 2, 4.
All right, assuming there are no rebuttals on the opening statements, which I think is convention by convention. We'll begin with the first question. These will be also randomized here, and Mr. Benway will be first. I'll go ahead and just announce that from now on, if I remember to, before reading the question, who's going first throughout the night. The first few questions, I'm going to kind of, as usual, try to gather together and aggregate questions that seem similar. These are critiques of the high school and scores. If you find something incorrect about these, please say so. I'm reading the cards, and I'm not haven't researched myself what the numbers are. So that's up to you if you want to correct something in the question. But here we go. First says, why has the Hoboken School District failed the CUSAC for 5 consecutive years in curriculum and instruction? What would you do to improve these scores? That's not high school specific, but it's about test scores. Question 2, currently Hoboken High School is ranked in the bottom 20% among high schools in New Jersey. What do we need to do to get into the top 100 in 3 to 5 years? Question number 3, if you have a child in high school age, would you send them to Hoboken High School with the test scores so bad? If not, why not? And if you are on the board, do you send your child to Hoboken High? And if not, why? So about scores, and 2 of the 3 about the high school in particular. Mr. Benway.
Thank you. Well, I'm actually going to start in reverse order because at this point, one of my main reasons for getting involved in the Board of Ed is I'm not confident in sending my 10-year-old daughter to the high school. Test scores are down over the last 4 years. We've failed CUSAC 5 of the last 5 years, needing an 80% mark. If we can't get 80% in CUSAC, we've got some real issues to look at. We need to get better programs into the high school. We need to get better professional development for our teachers. We're looking at, new STEM programs, but are we preparing our teachers to teach those STEM programs? Are we actually getting them out there and involved in, if they're not prepared to teach the programs, then the kids won't be prepared to learn the programs. Test scores are down, taxes are up. We need to make a change in many different areas. So right now, there's no way I would send my child to Hoboken High School, which is a problem for most of the people in this community. It's why many people think about leaving. We got to find a way to keep them here, collaborate, take some ideas from other districts, take some ideas from new members, find ways to incorporate them into the high school, find ways to keep our kids here, keep our families here, so that it becomes a more attractive place, not only for families, but for the kids of Hoboken. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Ms. Rossini.
Thank you. At this point, I agree with Chipper. I would not send my child to Hoboken High School. About 15% of the total pre-K 3 through 6th grade population actually attends Hoboken High School, and I think we need to make great improvement on that. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. There are some really great programs, and I think Dr. Johnson has done a really, really good job in implementing a lot of projects, a lot of programs in the past year that she's been here. It's actually kind of incredible. But I think there's a lot more that needs to be done. I think we need more extracurriculars. I think that we need some more languages. I think that we could do things creatively, like maybe add a dual language program to the high school, which I think would be fantastic. Take all those OLA students and push them right into the high school. I think we could partner with local businesses for internships, partner with Stevens to create a better STEM program. Resident enrollment has been down 42% since 2009. Overall enrollment down 23%, and we really need to work together as a team to fix this problem.
Okay. Next is Ms. Evans. Also, too, I've been asked to ask the audience, if you guys have questions during the debate, just raise your hand and we'll have someone come to you with a card for that. Ms. Evans.
Sure. So what I always say when people ask me about the high school is that I say, why don't you talk to folks who have actually sent their kids there? There's a lot of chatter out there. And usually when you ask somebody, well, what's your source of information? Does your child go to the high school? They say no. And did you get your information from someone who went to the high school? And no. And I have many friends who have sent their kids to the high school, and they have gone on to good colleges and successful careers. So I would also encourage people to actually go to the high school and meet the kids, meet the staff, see for yourself the services and programs that we have there. Can test scores be better? They absolutely can, and the programs and services are in place, and we are putting more in place to make that happen. In terms of the new science curriculum, our teachers got training over the summer. They got more at the beginning of the school year, and they'll continue to be getting it throughout the year. It's a national program, and you can't participate unless you train your teachers. As for world languages, we have French, Italian, and Spanish being offered at the high school. I really encourage people to go take a look. We've also introduced, I'll just finish up by saying that I do intend to send my kids to the high school. Thank you.
Ms. Dallara.
Sure. This is a district that tests all of its students. The district has a history of improving test scores over time. I want to get that out of the way. It's also important to know the actual plans that the superintendent, Dr. Christine Johnson, has put into place. And I'm just going to mention a few. There's a lot, but I'm just going to mention a few that I think are very important. There's a new program called RTI, Response to Intervention Programming, which now expands to the younger grades. What does that mean? Now it means that it's not only just for the upper middle class, now it's from K to 12. It also encourages mathematics to be in this response to intervention program, which is very important. Intervention and services is in an inclusive setting to children with special needs. What does that mean? We're not longer going to be able to pull out your children for services. Now it will all be included during the classroom, during their coursework, which I think is very important to note. And lastly, the one thing that I think is very important is the SAT prep will be held during the school day. So usually what happens is SAT prep, and I know when I went to high school, you would have it at the end of the day, and you have sports and all that kind of curriculum activities. SAT prep now is held during the day. Graduation rates are going to be high this year, as Dr. Johnson forecasted in this past Board of Education meeting. She also points out in this past Board of Education meeting, which I attended, she believes test scores will take 2 to 3 years to exceed state requirements.
Time.
She is focused on long-term sustainable change.
So that's time.
And
Time
I just
is
want
up.
to say, I just want to finish by saying, if elected, I promise to support her ideas and work my hardest for her
Yeah, no,
vision to be met.
That's good. That's time. All right. Next, let's see. Ms. Nelson.
Yes. So I think first we have to admit that there is a problem. To talk to a couple of standout children is not a full picture of what's going on. In 2013, the average SAT score was 1190 at Hoboken High School, while the state average is 1512. Those are the numbers. As a single mother, I don't really have any other choice than to send my child to a public school. So I will be sending them to the high school, and I would like the high school to be much improved by the time they get there. Some of the programs that I think we could implement is Let's Get Ready, which is a program that helps children, well, not children, teenagers to become ready for college. It helps them with their applications, it helps them with the whole process. Also, as we've said, STEM and other programs that we've discussed. So I think the first step is to admit that we have a problem and then to work towards a solution.
Okay. Sorry. Next, Ms. Sobolov.
Yes, test scores could be better. The Park test has certain controversies around it. I don't think that actually indicates anything. What the superintendent and the board does is identify an issue, identify a concern, work with the superintendent, work with the board, and programs in place to
Hold it just see if we can fix that microphone. Good, you can finish your comment.
So we work together with the superintendent and the board. We initiate programs that will address those concerns. So in the past, as was heard, we have a new STEM program, computer science, engineering, biomedical. We support the facility improvements to support those programs, 3D printers, robotics labs, college recruiters coming to the building, college acceptances are up, scholarships have doubled to more than 4 million. What I don't understand is the bashing of the schools, the negative chatter, the constant negative chatter, especially from people who've never even been in the building or even reached out to the superintendent or to the principal to discuss it. For example, having a partnership with Stevens. We've had a partnership with Stevens for over 100 years. They've been involved in our professional development for 25 years, and there was a presentation about a year ago with the 25 different partnerships that we have growing every day with Stevens, Wiley, local businesses, Google, ABC, Disney, So one of the ways to improve the high school is to close the opportunity gap, to give programs to the students, but it isn't helpful to spread the negative chatter if you haven't even been in the building. And yes, I did send my son to Hoboken High School.
Okay. Is the microphone okay?
Yeah, it should be, but it may be a cable problem, but...
Okay. You didn't go this round yet, or you have a rebuttal? Okay. Okay, this is a rebuttal then. This is a rebuttal, and so we can start rebuttals here. We'll give you the microphone, and you'll have 60 seconds if you have something to say. Okay, here we go. Stand by.
Folks not have their flashes in our faces. It was very distracting.
All right.
To have the flash.
All right. A request not to have cameras with flashes. So we can begin a rebuttal, and Mr. Benway, go ahead.
Well, I'd first like to start off that every school gets tested, and to say that we haven't been in the high school, I've been in high school as much in the past 2 years as probably most people have, whether that's taking my child to programs that are there, speaking to many of the faculty, speaking to many of the people that are involved in the school system. It's not like I've never been in Hoboken High. I know every corner of that building like the back of my hand, which is why it's totally ridiculous with the middle school and high school. We'll get to that later. Ms. Sobolov, I would just like to clear up. Your child is currently attending Hoboken High School? Or does he play sports at Hoboken High School?
Thank you for your interest in my 14-year-old child.
So, well, you'll have to finish your comment, and then she can have her own response.
Well,
Say whatever you
I'm
like.
just curious because as a member of the Board of Education that's claiming her child is at Hoboken High School participating, no, you just said that I have a
He
child
can finish his comment
at
one at a
Hoboken
time.
High School participating in many of these wonderful programs, but your child currently attends high tech and plays at Hoboken High School.
All right, that's time. I presume, Ms. Sobolov, you'd like to be next. Go right ahead.
Again, thank you for your interest in my son. I have 3 boys. My son Nicholas just graduated from Hoboken High School. He's now a freshman in Marist. My youngest son Joseph chose to apply. I let him in high school in Hoboken. The choice is the child's.
Any other rebuttals for this round? No applause, please. No, we don't have applause in the middle. It's a cheering session, and each side wants to yell louder than the other side, so that becomes a. We've learned. Pardon? We've learned over time not to allow, because then it becomes a circus of cheering. So, anyone else with a rebuttal, please? All right. So I guess not. Moving on. Ms. Sobolov will be first on this next question, and it is about budgets. And I'll read 3 cards. There's a lot of discussion about the budget and taxes. Please identify at least one specific line item that you would reduce, how, and what the net impact on taxes would be. Another question, if the tax levy were held at 2% hypothetically, I guess they mean the increase 2%, what are the programs, teachers, material, and other expenses you would cut from the district? Third card, if you think the budget is too high, what would you cut and why? So questions on budgets and what would be cut. Ms. Sobolov is first.
Well, I certainly would want the residents of Hoboken to understand that we work very hard to spend the tax dollars wisely. In the city of Hoboken, we have 4 publicly funded schools that all come out of the same tax levy. For 3 years prior, the taxes were flat, and then about 4 years ago, there was a growth in our district as well as the charter school districts that triggered a tax increase, approximately 2% for our district and 2% for the charters per year. During this time, the district was also able to realize unprecedented savings and efficiencies. We went out for grants, and we increased professional development. Under the state's formula, the funding for the charter schools comes out of the district's budget. So if we had not raised the taxes, the money for the growth in the charter schools would have been removed from the budget for the district's children. So in that case, it would have been about $2 million over the 4 years. I can't pick out one budget line item because I think that's irresponsible. I think that you look at the budget, you see where the savings is. We're getting down to as close as we can now. We were able to put together a budget to afford all 4 districts to thrive and to add these new programs that I think are encouraging people to come to the public schools, and the charter schools have their funding.
Ms. Evans next.
Okay, thanks. So, as Irene said, I think it's really important to understand that, yes, taxes, the school tax levy has gone up over the past 4 years, but before that, it was held flat. And during that time frame, there was a lot of fat that was cut out of the budget. That fiscal responsibility was brought to the district, and taxes did not need to be raised because those funds that were being misdirected were being appropriately directed into the classroom as they should be. Now, given enrollment, you're going to have increased costs, and the state recognizes that and says, okay, you can raise taxes to cover those costs. And as Irene said, that covers both increased growth at charter schools and also in our district. And I do take raising taxes very seriously, but I do find when you talk to folks and explain enrollment growth, increased costs such as areas in healthcare, and also the programs and services that we've implemented for the objective that we all share, which is the improvement of the schools, I think people recognize that and are accepting of it. Thank you.
Yes, next, Ms. Nelson.
Can you repeat the question?
Well, there were several, but it was about the budgets and about if there was something you were going to cut, what would it be? If you think the budget is too high, what would you cut and why? A lot of discussion about the budget. Give one line item you would reduce.
Okay, so I'll start with that.
Mm-hmm.
So the first line item I would reduce is the non-educational spending, namely the OLA lawsuit. It should not come out of the taxpayers' pockets for this lawsuit. The other thing I would say is I'm not quite certain why we have a $5.8 million surplus. I'm not certain that that's in Hoboken taxpayers' better interests. I understand we've had storms and fires, so maybe $1.5, $2 million, but I don't understand why such a surplus, and we continue to raise taxes every year. That's it.
Okay. Next, Ms. Dallara.
Okay, as my Irene and Jen have said, it is important for voters to understand that our Board of Ed budget covers 4 thriving districts. The school tax levy, meaning the portion of local taxes that goes to the school districts, has gone up around 15% in the past 4 years. However, the tax levy before that remained flat year after year. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about, let's make an example, 2016-2017 budget, right? The tax levy went up about 3.65%. So that equated to approximately $10 per every $100,000 that every home is assessed at, okay? Now, so every 1% that the tax levy went up for the 2016-17 budget will cost that homeowner whose house is assessed at approximately $1 million, $27 in taxes per 1%. Okay? Now, in Hoboken, the average home assessment is about $500,000. So in that case, every 1% will cost that homeowner $13 in taxes. So now that that's out of the way, why? Increase in enrollment, not just in the general ed population, but also in our special education population. Improved and new facilities, the turf, the fields. I see some Wallace parents here. The new floors in the gym, the new bathrooms. I see some Brant parents here. I also see the science labs.
And okay, let me just clarify. So first of all, that's time. So from now on, guys, what we always do this is if the gong hits, Francois hits the gong, then you can finish your sentence. So a grace period of another 5 seconds or some, 5 to 10 seconds after finish the sentence, and then that's it. That's how we're going to do. We do time.
Thank you.
So next would be.
I'm sorry. Can I just finish, Mr. Bowden? I didn't finish. I just want to say. I just.
You like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Go ahead. 5 seconds.
I'm fully committed to fully funding innovative programs in our schools, which is driving increase in enrollment.
Okay. Very well. Next is Mr. Benway.
Shh. I understand budgets can possibly go up, but if they're going to go up, they better meet the needs of the students. They better meet the needs of the kids. If you're going to raise taxes, taxes go back into the school, taxes take care of the kids. We can all understand that. But when scores continue to decrease, enrollment in the high school continues to decrease, then there's a problem. We look around the district, and how many consultants do we have in the business administrative office alone? Do we need 5 or 6 consultants? I don't know. Maybe we do, but maybe that's something we should look at. And instead of having consultants, maybe we have more teachers, more administrators, more people on the ground, in the classroom, in the schools that make a difference, an immediate impact than someone sitting behind a desk deciding how much money should be spent when we have 5 other people doing the same job. So if taxes are going to go up, we better get more bang for our buck. And right now, we feel like we're not getting enough bang for our buck. Line items can change every year. There's something that can always be taken out of the line items or added to the line items, and every year it's going to change what's needed based on what the need of the students are. But we better be putting it back into the education and not into people's pockets to go from 130 on a salary to 140 on a salary, because that's not where it's needed. It's needed in the classroom. It's needed for the kids. Thank you.
And finally on the budget, Ms. Rossini.
Well, I agree with Mr. Benway that I would probably look at the consultants first. The current administrative cost per student in Hoboken is $2,042 per student. I got that directly from the Hoboken Public School budget part of the website. The country average for admin costs is just under $900, so I'd be very curious to know why it's a little bit more than double in Hoboken. The surplus also, there's a $5.8 million surplus. I know Jessica mentioned that. In a company, in any kind of corporation, 2% is considered to be a healthy surplus, which for our budget would be a little bit under $2 million. So as far as a line item that I would cut, again, I don't know. I'd have to really look at it and really delve into it. I'm not on the board, so I'm not privy to all the things that go on, so I'd really want to take a further look at that.
Any rebuttals on the issue of budgets? Ms. Sobolov.
Yes, I agree that it's good business practice to have the 2% surplus. We also have a capital surplus and a maintenance surplus. And one of the reasons that that's important is that helped pay for the field, which was $1 million this year. And then there was also a lot of other capital improvements and maintenance improvements over the district, new gyms, new bathrooms, new science labs, new robotics labs. So that money is put to good use, and I would say that it's put to the use for the children, the gardens in Connors, the playgrounds, like I said, the robotics labs. I'm not quite sure what they're talking about, the consultants. I know that there may be some people in the business office that are working there part-time, sorry, so we save the full-time salary and the benefits by having a person coming in for just a few hours if that's what's needed.
Any other rebuttals? Ms. Evans.
Yes, I wanted to just also mention about the surplus that in addition to the capital and the municipal surplus, the state requires us to have 2% of our budget in reserve for unexpected costs. So for example, at the last meeting, we approved a contract for a student with special needs. That was approximately, I think it was about $120,000. That's a new item added to our budget because a child moved into town. And, that is something that would come out of that fund rather than cutting other items that we planned for. As for consultants, I have total confidence in Dr. Johnson. She completely analyzed and reorganized the business office this year. She reallocated resources. She made it more efficient, and she eliminated positions. We were able to hire 9 new teachers this year due to some of those savings. Thank you.
Okay. Can we get, you're going to wiring another mic over there? That's a different mic, so go ahead, Mr. Bittler.
We spoke about putting money back into the classrooms and consultants, and we broke down the numbers per $1 million home. What about all the families that don't own $1 million homes, where their tax dollars are actually affected, whether it's $20 or $50 coming out of their pocket every year? There are plenty of families in Hoboken that maybe are uncomfortable with a tax increase. I'm just mentioning that because if we're going to mention numbers, the facts are that there's a surplus of $5.8 million. The field had to be done. That young boy that was taken care of, that special needs, absolutely. That's what we're here for. Let's not pat ourselves on the back for the job we're supposed to do. Let's look at some of the problems that we have and try to fix them.
Anyone else? Yeah. Go ahead.
Sure. Susan, okay. I just want to make sure that I was clear. So I did have just because it's for math purposes, it's easier to do a big number like that. But I also talked a little bit about the average home price here in Hoboken is $500,000, and I broke that down to you to let you know what the tax levy, not your whole entire increase in taxes, was. And also, I just wanted to say, yes, improved and new facilities, new gym floors, the field, the 3D printers in our labs in Wallace, Brand, Connors, Calabro, and also Project Lead the Way, which is a new program that just started here in our schools, which includes K-12. Project Lead the Way, new teachers, new science labs, new classrooms. We need to take that into consideration. So I'm not really sure. I don't think anybody has really said, what would you cut? And we've got a lot going. The proof is in the enrollment. The enrollment's going up.
Okay. I think you already had a rebuttal, though, in this round. If someone else wants a rebuttal, then they may go ahead.
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Just to clarify, enrollment is going up in the lower grades as far as the high school. I think I might have quoted this earlier. In 2009, there were 575 students. Today, there are 347. So enrollment is going down in the high school, while in the lower grades, it is going up.
Okay. Any other rebuttals who haven't gone this round yet? And I see none. Is there a way we could turn the fans down? My cards are being blown off the table. Is there a fan switch in this room somewhere, or? We have a, okay, good. Oh, there we go. Look at that. What? Oh, that's good. Look at this. This is problem solving. It's right here too. But I mean, they're all over it. Okay. All right. Well, just the one. Leave on the others. Yeah, it'll be okay. You can move to the other side of the room if you want to be closer to the fan. Okay. Sorry for wasting everyone's time. All right, so Ms. Evans will be the first on this next question. It's about STEM programs, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And the first card says, what improvements in areas of STEM and gifted and talented, which is also important, have happened in the past 2 or 3 years? How do you plan to keep that momentum going forward? Another question, what are the advantages of advocating for the adoption of a STEM program? Ms. Evans.
Sure. So this year, as has been mentioned, we have Project Lead the Way, and that is a national program that we've incorporated here for our students K to 12. So, for example, at the elementary level, students now have a period of science every day. And there's also at the high school, I'm going to forget, biomedical, computer science, and engineering are the programs that have been instituted through that program. And then for gifted and talented, a really great change was made this year. We'd had a gifted and talented program, and flash again. So now it's also incorporated during the day. So now a lot of students couldn't participate because it was after school, and now because it's incorporated during the day, it can be. And so we've been able to...
I didn't want to interrupt her, but you've asked me to interrupt her.
Well, he already
will.
is. Because we've been able to add these periods, because we worked with our teachers, and we extended the school day for 20 minutes, and we were able to do things then like add other programs during the day. And sorry, this is not my most fluent answer, but I can't see right now. I think that, the value of a STEM program is that it prepares our kids to be competitive in a global economy. Thank you.
Why don't we give you can take another 15 seconds or something if you want for that interruption. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that having STEM, introduces kids to things that could be something they'd want to do in life. And obviously, there's a lot of great opportunities, and it gives the kids the skills as well as the knowledge to pursue those sort of opportunities. Thank you.
Mr. Benway on gifted and talented programs and science and technology and engineering and math programs.
STEM is the way of the future. Unfortunately, we're getting in the game about 6 years too late. Most high schools, most districts have began their STEM programs 5 or 6 years ago. We have one of the best engineering schools in the country, and we have a partnership with them, but how good is that partnership? Are we getting the most out of what we can out of Stevens? Are we getting summer research where our kids are getting on campus all summer? Are we getting out to NJIT? Are we getting out to Rutgers? All colleges that were more than happy to come in and train our kids and give internships and give research programs. How about future programs that I haven't heard mentioned, like cybersecurity? We said we have the forensics. These are all part of the future. Why are we only getting in now? Why has it been 6 years since most of these programs have been around, and most people on the board have been on for a number of years. Why are we only getting in now? This is something that our kids should have had since 4th grade 5 years ago. And now they're freshmen in college and they're behind. So as far as the high school making progress in STEM, might be a little bit too late for them. Let's hope not. But these programs need to be down in the elementary school 5 years ago. Hopefully the kids that are there now, thank you for finally implementing them, because we do need them. Thank you.
Next, Ms. Dallara.
Sure. So I just want to reiterate what Ms. Evans had said about Project Lead the Way. It's a nationally recognized program that I'm very proud has started in our school this year, K to 12. K through 6, it's called Project Lead the Way, and then 6 through 8 is called Project Gateway. Just a little personal story. So my daughter's favorite part about Project Lead the Way was they had some sort of science experiment about taking an M&M and dipping it into water. And I remember she came home and she said, "Mom, if you dip a M&M into water, it turns white." And so it's, for her, it's something that's very interesting. She's never been exposed to that. And to be able to go to the new science labs and have science every day, for her, she feels really proud and she really likes it. As well as my son. These are things that I'm really proud to see the progress that our current board members like Jen and Irene have done. I'm proud that the high school also has it. And if I'm elected, I continue to support Dr. Johnson's plans to continue to enrich all of our students.
Ms. Nelson.
To piggyback on what Chip already said, it is nice that we finally do have a STEM program and it's starting to be implemented. Obviously, it's working across the country and it's something that our children need. As far as expanding the Gifted and Talented program, I think this will help with enrollment in the high school. For those students who are maybe on the periphery, that it will help them to stand out. So they'll want to go to Hoboken High School rather than going to a more difficult high school where they can't stand out in Hoboken. Thank you.
And Ms. Sobolov.
Hi.
Hold on. Yeah, Patricia. Shh.
Are we done?
Okay. Shh. Okay. Quiet, please. Quiet, please. All right. Ms. Sobolov.
I want to say very quickly first that just because these new STEM programs are coming does certainly not mean that we didn't have science and STEM programs beforehand. And I think it's too bad that some people don't understand the things that we've had for many years, including the partnership with Stevens for, I don't even know how many years now we've had water biotics in the younger grades. The Stevens students come, they visited our classrooms, taught our classrooms. Now we have them working in the after-school program. We have visits to NJIT. We have the STEM-a-thon that we partner with Stevens. We have a whole cohort of children going to the Rutgers pre-med class on weekends. Very intensive class. And then we have an SAT program with Stevens, partnerships, lots of things. These things are new programs that are coming in now, but there certainly were programs before that. One of the things in talking about expanding the gifted and talented, we have now we've put together an after-school program which kind of, again, closes that opportunity gap so that all children, not just children of means, have access to, dance, chess, coding, all kinds of programs that go after school from 3 to 6. They have an enrichment program, then tutoring, and then dinner is supplied by the district free for every student who's in a sports or an aftercare program. Thank you.
Ms. Rossini.
I want to just go a little off topic first. I'm kind of taken aback at how much anger there is in this room today, and I really, first of all, we're supposed to be exemplary for our children, and I don't see how that we can do that when we can't even sit in a room together and have an open discussion about our opinions. But that being said, I think that the STEM program is great, obviously, that we have it now. It is definitely something that is, a nationwide program, and we need to, I think, make improvements to it. In our county alone, I think we're competing with high tech for STEM, and so I think, people who live in Hoboken, if they really want an excellent STEM program, they're probably applying to high tech and not going to Hoboken. So I think we need to figure out what improvements need to be made. to the Hoboken program so that people don't go to high tech and they stay in Hoboken. I know we've done a lot, and I'm sure there's a lot more, that's coming down the pike, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen down the road.
Any rebuttals on this? Ms. Sobolov.
I want to absolutely agree with Ms. Rossini. There's this sort of tension in the air, so I hope that we can maybe just take a second and take a breath, and maybe, I don't know what was going on there with the camera and everything. It's very distracting, so if we can all just take a second and kind of regroup here, and we can have this conversation without that kind of, I don't know, harassment. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Benway.
Not so much of a rebuttal. I just want to make the board members that are on the board now aware of a very concerning information I came across. The dinner at the schools, not all schools get dinner, some opted for it, some didn't. There's reports coming out of Connors that kids are getting, some days they're getting cheeseburgers, some days they're getting just like a mozzarella stick as their dinner program. I'm not sure if that's true or not. That's coming from parents that I've spoke to. I can't do anything about that now. Can you please check into that to make sure if these kids are supposed to be provided with a dinner program, they're getting what they deserve? I know it's a new program. It's got some glitches in it, but just something to keep in mind. Thank you.
Can I answer that?
Well, no, actually, but if someone else who has not spoken on rebuttal may speak on rebuttal.
Sure. So the dinner that's provided is by our food service provider, and it has to meet all the federally mandated guidelines. And it's actually a really great program that's been instituted this year. It was at the high school last year, and now for children who are participating in the after-school program, they can choose to have dinner. And given the very high percentage of students we have that are living in poverty, about 60% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. So that service, in addition to the enrichment that they're getting, the homework help, and the that last hour of childcare while mom and dad are waiting to get home, they also get a dinner. So, and I'm quite confident that the dinners they're getting are, again, totally within the federally mandated guidelines, as we're required to do.
Anyone else who hasn't rebutted yet? Is that a yes? No? Okay. Okay. And Ms. Sobolov, you can remark later on, anytime about if you want to circle back to something is fine. Of course, I'm just trying to stick to the structure. The next, Ms. Nelson will be the first to answer this question. A number of questions about the charter schools, mostly OLA, and I'll read a few quickly here. I've aggregated them as usual. What is your opinion of the OLA lawsuit? A former board president was quoted as saying the charters promote white flight and are bankrupting the district, yet Hoboken School District has a $5 million surplus, doesn't seem to bankrupt. Another, current Board of Education has funded litigation to block expansion of the OLA. What is your position on the litigation, and have you or would you donate your own money to fund this litigation? Another similar position on the lawsuit, are you in favor of continuing or stopping? Will you vote in favor of continuing the lawsuit or terminating it? Do you support charter school system? What do you stand on the charter school lawsuit and why? So all of those beginning with Ms. Nelson.
That's a lot of questions in one question.
All related to the same.
That I would absolutely terminate the OLA lawsuit. I do not feel that taxpayer dollars should be going against a school. And it is a public school. Charter schools are public schools. The parents have a choice of where to send their children. It is a public school. 500 families applied for 44 spots at OLA. The school is approved by the state. They're reporting positive results on a shoestring budget. The least funded of all of the public schools. I'm not exactly sure why there is a lawsuit, but I do know I do not want any more of our tax dollars going towards it. As far as charter schools, obviously my children attend, and I'm very happy with them, so I would say I am in favor. To comment on white flight, I think it's a little bit silly. My children are multiracial, and they attend charter school. Thank you.
This is a tough question. You know, I have a lot of friends that attend charter schools, private schools, public schools, and I've had some friendships that have been hurt over this conversation, so it's a tough one for me. So let me just explain it to you as a mom, okay? The Board of Education needed the extra help to figure out the ramifications of this important matter. The appeal is more so about choice versus equity. And I think it's all about, you know, fair funding. The state has to fulfill its promise. It has to fulfill its promise if we're going to be able to run 4 thriving districts. But I think it's also important for me to say this, that we should accept the verdict no matter what it is. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Benway.
I'm sorry, but when the state of New Jersey, the Department of Education makes a decision, yes, we do have to accept what they say. We might not like it, but we've tried 3 times to counterclaim or countersue and get different decisions, and the same decisions keeps coming back. Listen, I'm a public school teacher. My kids go to public school. I graduated from a public school. Every bone in my body is a public school person. But at the same time, I don't feel it's right for me to tell a parent that charter school are bad, that you shouldn't send your kid to charter school. I think that's a decision between a family and whatever decision those parents make. Unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, the state of New Jersey says we have to spend X amount of money on them. That's what we have to spend. You can keep suing them, keep wasting taxpayers' money, but believe me, when the state says this is what it is, that's what it is. I agree that not everyone has to be in favor of it, but now we got to figure out how to bring it together. You know, in Hoboken, there's only 1 charter school, I believe, I might be wrong, that goes up to 12th grade. The rest of them stop after 8th grade. So how come we're not getting those kids after 8th grade into Hoboken High School? Right? 12th grade is only 1 charter school that we're losing kids 9 through 12. The rest of them done after 8th grade. There's got to be a better connection between the charter schools and the public schools. I don't care which side of the fence you're on. Thank you.
Next, Ms. Patricia. Okay. Next, Ms. Sobolov.
I believe that parents in Hoboken can send their children to any school they want. It's a personal choice. And charter schools are part of the landscape, just like independent schools in Hoboken. They each have their own separate boards, their own separate administrators, their own separate students. The Hoboken Public Schools do interact with all the different students, either formally or informally. We join with the STEM program. We have a very nice relationship with the Legion. We go to their high school night. The kids all know each other from sports. Last year, we had a nice program, Women in Leadership. We invited the young girls from every school in Hoboken to come together. I would love to see more of those kinds of interactions with the students. But the case against the state of New Jersey, it's currently waiting for a hearing. It was decided internally, almost by the same people that made the original decision, and then they appealed it internally. And so this will be the first time it'll be heard by a judge. I think the issues are very important. I think they deserve a hearing. And I think we can all agree that the funding situation is not beneficial to anybody. It's not perfect. We feel a constraint. The charter schools feel a constraint. We argue about who raises taxes and what budget comes out of where. So the original intent of the charter law was not to have parents fighting against each other. It was not to create choice, but everybody fighting for the same pie. So the state has set up this unfortunate situation, and the state must fix it, and they must help us fix it. Thank you.
Next, Ms. Rossini.
I mean, I think charter schools that anybody can apply to start a charter school, and it is approved by the state. It's not approved by the local school board. And I do believe that it is the school board's job to make sure that whatever the state decides to approve, that they need to uphold. I don't think that it's the board's decision to give personal opinions about any of the schools. I mean, it seems to me from an outside perspective that OLA is being picked on. I would not approve the lawsuit. I think it is a waste of time, and I think it causes divisiveness, kind of to the tune of what I was saying before about the feeling in this room right now. In the research that I've done, there's really no reliable demographics about the Hoboken school system. So I know that OLA does mirror the demographics of the city of Hoboken, which I think is important. One other thing I really would like to mention is that
what's left. And I find it a little concerning that someone running for the board would not even understand that what that means is less money for the district schools. And I think that it's not a fair situation. And I think people also get really defensive because people in the charter schools, they don't like that their funding is coming from the district schools. That's not a really good feeling, and especially when you feel like you're just making the right choice for your own child. And I certainly understand that. So what the point of the litigation is to get the state to do their job. And to just sort of blindly assume that state is doing their job really isn't the way to go. Bridgegate, I mean, come on. You know, to say that it's been rejected 3 times is not true. It's been kind of back and forth about where it's going to be heard and this, that, and the other thing, but it's never actually gone to the appellate court. I think it's a really important discussion for our community to have, and it's being a conversation that's held all over the state, all over the nation, and I don't want Hoboken being left behind.
Any rebuttals on this issue?
I've had a lot of rebuttals.
All right. Ms. Rossini?
So I just want to add that, you know, parents create charter schools or they apply for charter schools because they see a need for, you know, a better option in the district. And I have also read a lot of articles. I've done a lot of research about charter schools. I've read a lot of articles that show that positive things happen within a school district when there are charter schools. Usually they're because there is a need for it. And so there is a positive ripple effect that happens. And as we all know, if anybody plays sports, that if you want to better yourself, then you need to play with people who are better than you. And it's kind of the same effect that charter schools have on the public school system in any given district or town.
Anyone else? Mr. Benway.
I understand that charter schools can affect the budget, and adversely so. I understand questioning it, but I am almost positive, I could be wrong, but I believe that we've put money on the table at least 3 times to challenge it, and that's what we're saying. I believe that enough is enough. The state makes the decision, we have to go with it, whether we like it or not. 5.8 million surplus, I'm sure that money left over, you know, whatever we spent to sue, listen, we have to find a way to incorporate all of Hoboken into a better community, not just separate and divide it, like you were saying. It is a divisive issue, but it's what this district has come to. Like Jen said, many times the charter schools pop up because the public school system is not up to par. So let's hope we can get the public school system up to par.
Anyone else? Ms. Sobolov.
Competition is a great thing. I have 3 boys. They love it. We do it all the time. I think it's about the money. I mean, I don't think anybody would ever accuse us of hating All Saints or hating, you know, Stevens or something, but I'm accused constantly of being a charter hater, and it actually hurts me. I have so many friends that are in the charter schools. It is a divisive thing in the community. We're a tiny little 1 square mile. If it wasn't for the rules that the state had set up that made it so unfair, we wouldn't be fighting amongst each other. If the funding formula was equitable for the charters as well as us, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and we would be doing more of the things like women in leadership and the STEM-a-thon.
Anyone else with a rebuttal? Ms. Nelson.
Yes, just to be clear about how much money is being spent on the charter schools as compared to the other schools, out of a $70 million budget, $9 million goes to 3 charters. That's $3 million each.
Ms. Evans.
Okay, sure. That was actually what I wanted to address. So I think there's often a little bit of confusion and anger because people think that the Board of Education decides how much money the charter school gets, and that is absolutely not the case. It's actually, you know, a bill that we get in the spring while we're doing budget planning, and the state says, here's what you're going to, be paying out to the charter schools next year, and we incorporate that into the budget. And the way, you can throw a lot of numbers around, but it is, very complicated. But the way it works is that that the New Jersey Department of Education figures out what it costs for the district to educate a general education student, and then it lops off 10% and says that's how much times the number of charter school students there are that you owe. And the 10% is sort of because they recognize that we have aging buildings, that sort of thing. And the reason, it's at a lower level is also we are educating a lot of the bulk of our community's special needs children and children living in poverty.
Okay. Anyone else? Or did everyone go already? Are we good? All right. Sometimes at halftime we take bathroom breaks. Sometimes we just keep going. I don't know. Mary, what are your thoughts on it? We have a bathroom break supporter in the back room? Yeah. In the back room. What do you think, Mary?
Take 5? Yeah.
All right. We'll be the first to address the next questions once we have our seats. And... all right, so this question is about the current superintendent, and I guess it's sort of, I would say you could address whatever you'd like to say. Some of the questions are phrased in a way to say, sometimes we get questions that, about how great a person is, or other times about how stupid and terrible a person is. So let's filter all that out and say whatever you want to say. We have, how will you specifically support Dr. Johnson in the work she's doing in the district? We have in what ways you plan to support Dr. Johnson, et cetera. But consider it an opportunity to speak about the superintendent. We begin with Mr. Benway.
Unfortunately, I've not had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Johnson myself. Everything I've heard has been excellent. I am excited at many of the programs that she's has brought to the district, along with the board. I do have to give credit when credit is due. The STEM program and the Passport to Learning is a much-needed program. From what I understand, Dr. Johnson was extremely influential in bringing that to our district. I've heard tremendous things about some new ideas that she might have. I look forward to working with her. I guess the thing that I'm most excited about her is that she seems committed to staying. We've gone through 5 superintendents in 7 years and 5 different school principals in roughly that amount of time. We need some stability to the district. We need someone that is willing to roll up their sleeves and get involved. And like all of us sitting up here, that's what we're all here for, to roll up our sleeves and get involved. So I look forward to working with a woman that has so many good ideas and wants to be involved for the long run for the kids of Hoboken.
Next, Ms. Sobolov.
Yes, I was very proud to be part of the, on the board when she was attracted to Hoboken and hired from Hoboken. And she came here with a mission. I think one of the things that I appreciate about Dr. Johnson is she has a very high, up here, overall comprehensive view of the things that she wants to see happen in the district, all the pieces coming together, the different programs that she wants to institute. I think what's really important is supporting her. And to me, that doesn't mean blindly, walking past her. She works very closely with the board, always interacting with the board, the teachers, all the staff. But I think we need to support her budget and her staffing because she is up here. She knows exactly where all the pieces and parts fit. And it's unfortunate, and part of it is because of Christie's superintendent cap of salaries dependent on the size of the district. The average stay in New Jersey for a superintendent in a district is 3.5 years. So there is a lot of turnover. I think gone are the days when superintendents stay for 40 years, and maybe we can debate if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But it was wonderful for me to see her bring that fresh energy in, and she does have a 5-year contract, and it's not a guaranteed contract. So I'm hoping that she stays. I'm hoping that we can all work together and that people support her vision.
Ms. Nelson.
To continue what Chip and Irene said, I've heard nothing but wonderful things about Dr. Johnson, and I would look forward to working with her. It's wonderful that she is on for 5 years. and I plan on supporting the board and also Dr. Johnson when I become a member.
Ms. Evans.
So yes, I'm extremely proud to have been part of the board that hired Dr. Johnson to be our superintendent. I think she has amazing energy and vision, and we're already seeing so many wonderful new programs and services for our students. She also has a complete open door policy. She'll meet with community members. I know she's reached out to elected officials. She'll meet with parents and talk about their concerns. And she also just has a great connection with people. I've heard of parents, going into their office really, angry and upset about something, and they'll end by hugging her. Like, that's how great she connects with people. So she has that aspect as well. And she also, I think, has a really great relationship with our staff, that she's pushing and challenging them, but also supporting them and motivating them and really inspiring them. And that's also her same philosophy with our students, that's coming down to them as well, that they're being pushed and challenged, but given the support to succeed. She also, like I said, will meet with anyone. I know she's gone to meet with charter school parents, talk to them about the high school, encouraging them to consider the high school as an option, and working with them. So she is a bridge builder. I do want to point out that she does have a 5-year contract, but that doesn't mean that she can't leave. That isn't like a thing that if she's not getting the support she needs to be successful, she has a professional reputation, and she'll go.
Time. Ms. Dallara.
Thank you. I've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Christine Johnson for the past year as an involved parent. She really has this really great way of making sure that all the parents and all the children's needs are met and the parents are heard. Just recently, for example, I'm proud to say that I am a founding member, because of her help and our new director of special services, a founding member of our special education parent advocacy group. And that's the first time that this actually has gone through, and it's something that as parents we've really advocated for. And Dr. Johnson has been just an awesome supporter, and she has heard me, and she has been able to work with me, and I support all the programs that she's made. I wanted to make a quick example. At the last board meeting, and I brought this because it didn't really get a lot of recognition. She had an item here on the agenda, which is the merit goals for a superintendent. I mean, for a superintendent to put goals in her agenda is really something that we should be proud of. She has goals that by 2017 she wants the test grades to go up, and she wants Hoboken High School students will increase by at least 0.5% as a result of professional development and a concerted practice assessment. I mean, these are the things that we want to continue in our schools. We have to keep our superintendent, and I'm proud to support her and have worked with her. Thank you.
Ms. Rossini.
I have not had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Johnson either. As a full-time working mom, sometimes it's hard to be around during the day to, attend meetings and meet people. But I've heard nothing but unbelievable things. I mean, as you can hear from this table, both sides both say that she's amazing. I have talked to her on the phone about the passport to learning. I actually wanted to sign my son up the first day of school, and she called me personally, and I was blown away by that. I think that's incredible. I also know that she's up very early, because she did email me very early in the morning. So I think that's pretty incredible too. My personal experience with what she's done so far is Passport to Learning. My son's in kindergarten at Wallace. From what I can see, it's a phenomenal program. I mean, the things that they offer kindergartners, engineering and dance, and I mean, there's just so much to offer. So I think it's really fantastic. If I was to be on the board, I would be really excited to work with her and support her and listen to her ideas. Thank you.
Any rebuttals on this round? Seeing none, we move on. Ms. Sobolov will be number one in the next question, which is about what innovative programs would you support? For instance, would you support adding a green roof or rooftop farm to the high school to grow herbs and vegetables? Although I think, who is it? It says Herbs. What's her name? The chef on who went to jail on TV? Martha Stewart says herbs, not herbs. So I don't know how to say that word now properly. So, farm to the high school roof to grow herbs and vegetables in collaboration with the culinary classroom to teach our students real-world skills to allow them to work in Hoboken's culinary industry, but it also begins more broadly. What other innovative programs, opportunity for you guys to be creative and say ideas that maybe are brand new ideas on innovation, Ms. Sobolov.
Okay, well, actually, that's a very interesting thing that you bring up, because there actually is a farm in Hoboken High School. There is an aquaponics farm where we raise fish, and then the waste from the fish go into the planters, and they're growing vegetables and herbs. And the students designed it, they built it, they run it, they run the business plan for it. That's already there. I think that we also purchased a greenhouse for the roof, so a lot of those ideas are there already. And they do meet up with the culinary cafe that we put in a few years ago. And we have a new culinary teacher. She's amazing. So she partners with the Italian club or the French club. And so there's a lot of that cross-promotion, cross-work together, which I think is really nice. I think one of a crazy thing, maybe, I've always wanted to raise bees in Hoboken High, so I've kind of, crazy, I know. But I've actually mentioned that to her, and she promised that that would be one of the things that we would look into, and that would kind of go together. It's done in a lot of private schools in Manhattan, and it is legal in Jersey City. So it's funny, I know, but so that's an innovative thing. I think I'm proud of the programs in Hoboken High School, and what I really like is how they work together in the different departments.
Next, Ms. Rossini.
From what I know about the programs that are in the high school, there seems to be a lot of really good programs. Classroom Without Walls seems like a great program. I love that the high school kids can get to travel. Obviously, Project Lead the Way, the AP program, Rutgers Pre-Med, I think is a really great program. And I think there's a start of some really, really good things. I'd like to see more clubs, for example. There's about 28 clubs right now. I have a 14-year-old stepson who attends high school in Ridgewood. They have 98. I understand that the high school population there is about, 10 times the size of this one. But they have a lot more real-world clubs that kids can choose from. I said this a little bit earlier. I think that there needs to be more language programs. Mandarin, I think, would be a really good addition to the high school. That's going to be the #1 language in the world pretty soon, and so I think that would be great. I'd love to see more business classes. We talk a lot about STEM, but without business, there would be no STEM, because that applies to business programs, so I'd love to see more of that. Partnering with local businesses like Jet.com, Newell Brands is going to be moving their global headquarters here, partnering with companies like that for internships and seeing how we can extend our business relationships. Again, I said before, maybe add a dual language program to the high school, I think would be really fantastic. As far as the greenery, I 100% support anything that students can own, and then move forward. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Ms. Evans, on innovation.
Sure. So I agree. I think it's great when you can do fun, innovative programs and then weave it in to the classroom so that the kids are actually participating and being inspired and learning about new things in that way. Irene mentioned the aquaponics lab. I think that is a really great experience for our kids at the high school. We also have a green team that is comprised of our faculty and staff, and they worked really hard to get us certified with Sustainable New Jersey. So, and it was all of our schools. Like most districts can only manage to get a couple schools or a few schools, but they worked incredibly hard, and all of our schools qualified, and that opens us up to be able to apply for grants and additional funding in all kinds of different areas. For other ideas, I think I really like the Rutgers Pre-Med Honors Program, because it gives kids a chance to kind of do a test run on a career, and the kids who are in the program came to the board meeting, and it was really funny because one child said, I totally want to be a doctor now. And another child said, well, I totally know that I don't want to be a doctor now. And I thought that was great, right? You learned it before you went too far down that road. And I think that it would be great to, expand that into other areas so that kids can get a little real life experience and know what they do and what they don't want to do. And anything that you can expose them to in life is great as well. Okay, thanks.
Ms. Nelson.
So I've had the opportunity to work with some of the girls from Hoboken High School with softball. My father is a coach at Rutgers. I myself played at UCLA. And one of the things I've noticed is we have some extremely talented athletes who are in community college and not even have gone to university. I think it would be nice to have an academic advisement for student athletes program to create positive press for our high school. If our athletes are being recruited into D1 programs in major universities, this will be documented and be positive for the face and the brand of our high school. I also think the AP programs should be expanded, as well as the language programs and technology-based courses.
Next, Ms. Dallara.
Sure. There's an example that I'd love to see throughout our schools, which is the community garden at Connors Elementary. I would love to have that in all of our schools. Again, that's kind of like Irene's maybe honey dream, but community gardens, teach children a lot about just nutrition and growing your food and exposing them to different things that maybe they haven't had. And Connor's one, I don't know if anybody has gone to see it, but it's really beautiful and it really has done a lot for the families, for the students. I would love that. Something that I would like to see a little bit of improvement on. I mean, I don't know. School lunch. I'm a vegan. So that would be one thing. But so more so because, children with special needs, they tend to have very restricted and limited diets, right? And so my son's also gluten-free. So I would just kind of see what our school lunch provider can do for us. And then because I've done it in my son's classroom, I would love to bring some mindful practices into our classrooms. I know maybe a lot of you have heard, but as far as meditation and some yoga, I think those are really important to bring into our classrooms, right? It teaches them compassion and it regulates them, and I think that would be beautiful to bring. Thank you.
And Mr. Benway.
Any program that kids can get excited about and feel like they have ownership over is generally an excellent program. So when we talk about the gardens and growing their own foods and vegetables for the culinary part of the high school, that seems like a wonderful program and something I would continue to support. But there are other areas that like us check into. Cybersecurity, I mentioned earlier, some schools have gone to training kids on how to prevent hackers from getting into databases, and that's going to be a thing of the future. Another area that also entail is, excuse me, I lost my train of thought for a second. Another program that I'd like to see is have business leaders, lawyers come into our school, train them in those type of professions, partnerships with lawyers throughout the area that will come into the high school, give the kids knowledge of what it takes to become a lawyer, types of courses, college courses that they'd have to prepare for. I'd also like to see an extension of the mini-med program into a nationally recognized program called HOSA, which provides kids with opportunities to get AP credits in the fields of medical and pre-med. Years ago, we used to have a program where our kids used to volunteer and work closely with the Hoboken Volunteer Ambulance Corps. For whatever reason, that went away. I'd love to see that program come back. I think a lot of kids were excited and sad to see that go.
All right, time. Any rebuttals on Ms. Sobolov?
Just kind of in addition for a second, speaking about exposing kids to as many things as possible. There's something called a personal growth period in the middle of the day at Hoboken High School. It's a 90-minute sort of free period where the students can choose from a wide variety of things that they can do. They can go to the art room, they can go to the science lab, they can go to the gym, they can go to the library, and every day is a different guest speaker from the community. So, and also every day is a different college person that comes in to recruit. So I think that's exciting too, because I think it's a nice idea, because they can, as he said, talk to a lawyer, they can talk to a doctor, talk to an artist, so that exposes the kids to a lot of different things. And also it's a nice bit of freedom that they get to choose what they want to do during the day.
Anyone else? Ms. Evans.
This wasn't entirely a rebuttal, but more of an addition. So along the lines of Irene, there's also what's called Junior Prep Day at the high school every year, and so this has become really a Hoboken tradition. And various people from Hoboken will come in and have sessions with the juniors and talk about what they do, take questions, and it just gives the kids a taste of what some of the things that people do in our community, and gives them a chance to ask questions and learn more about it.
Anyone else? Okay. Is anyone against innovation? No? All right. So next question, Ms. Dallara will be first on this. And and it reads, what's your opinion on the current salaries of teachers? Would you support financial incentives, i.e. higher salaries, performance bonus to teachers whose classes exceed state standards, also often known as merit pay? But also the issue generally of the current salaries of teachers. Ms. Dallara.
Sure. I'm a big advocate of working with teachers. I think, recently there's that successful contract that the Board of Ed put together, and many of them are working in our after-school programs. I think it's also very important for us to support working with them because they're our strongest partners. We want to continue our teachers to, continue their professional development. I think that's very, very important. And I think it's important in order to reduce, the burnout rate for our teachers. I think it's important for them to always have, professional development. Our teachers are our most precious partners, and I totally agree that we need to work with our teachers.
Ms. Nelson.
So I don't have a ton of information about how much teachers are making, as I am not currently on the board. What I could say is it's important that our teachers feel appreciated, and I think that the better they feel about their job, the better they're going to perform, and the better it will be for our children.
Okay, Ms. Sobolov.
Teachers are why we're there. They take care of our children. They lead the future. They impart all these wonderful things that we've been talking about. That's their job, to take all these ideas that we may have as a community, as a board, and implement them in the classroom. And in the past few years, we've asked a lot of them. A lot of different programs have come in, requiring a lot of professional development, expanded AP courses that they've had to keep up on, the Project Lead the Way, the Passport to Learning, they're all involved in that. I think they need to be treated like professionals, and I think that their salary reflects that. In the recent contract, they gave back, they've extended the day by 20 minutes. We had one of the shortest days in the state of New Jersey. So now we've added that extra 20 minutes. They also were very generous in givebacks on professional development time, things that they may do after school, or parent-teacher nights, things like that. So it's a partnership. It's a partnership with the board, the administration, the teachers, and the kids, and I'm grateful for them.
Ms. Evans.
Okay, so I did want to agree with all the things that Irene said, that we're partnering with our teachers. The latest contract negotiation reflected that. It worked out so that we worked out a deal that made sense for our schools, for our staff, for our taxpayers. As Irene mentioned, we've got a longer school day, and also more. And then I just also wanted to point out that we are very transparent with our budget. We have a budget meeting every spring as we're preparing it. Members of the community can come, see how the money is being allocated. It's also on our website as required by the state. And so anyone who is curious about that has several different resources to become more informed. Thanks.
Mr. Benway.
As a public school teacher, you're not going to get much of a complaint out of me about salaries. But 10 years ago, we couldn't get enough good people involved in education, and the state went to something called the alternate route program because salaries were so low that most people wouldn't get involved in education, and more people came out of the business world and got involved in education because the salaries went up. And as a result, we've gained throughout the state of New Jersey hundreds, if not thousands, of great teachers, and they do an excellent job. As far as the merit-based pay goes, I don't agree with it. There's all different scenarios that can add to a teacher's performance in the classroom. If you're a professional, and that's what we like to be known as, then you go do your job every day the same way each and every one of you go to wherever your place of business is and do your job. We like to consider ourselves as professionals, and I'm not going to complain about the salary. And things have changed in the state. The tenure laws have changed through evaluations, and you can be removed from a district. It's no longer once you pass 3 years in a day that you can pretty much do anything and still not be fired. That's not true any longer. Tenure laws are different. But I'd also like to bring up a group of people who are not mentioned. That's teachers' aides. A lot of teachers' aides that are there every day, and they give the kids everything they got, and their pay scale might need to be looked at, because right now, we're going to lose them.
And Ms. Rossini.
All right, well, I'll just add to the teacher's aides. My son has an aide. He has a one-on-one aide. And I know that's a little bit different than a teacher's aide, but somebody that is obviously very instrumental in the classroom. She's not just with my son all day. She's with all the kids, even though her main priority is my son. And I know that the aides are grossly underpaid. She does an incredible job. She's my son's savior. So, one idea is kind of off topic. One idea that I would have for that would work with local universities that have master's programs in special education and try to get some interns. It's not like a long term, but it could be a great for short term. I know that there's a lot of needs for aides, and it's really hard to find them. Salaries are a sticky subject. It's really important. Teachers are unbelievable. I mean, they will literally pave the way for our future, for all of us. And I think paying people an appropriate amount of money is a really good thing. There was just something that happened at Walmart. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this, but they actually just increased their hourly pay to $10. Their sales were down year after year after year, being the largest, I think, employer probably in America. And they raised their hourly salary to $10 an hour, managers to $15, and their employees were much happier. They were happy to come to work. The store started looking better, and therefore the sales of the store increased dramatically. Actually makes me want to shop there. I wouldn't shop at Walmart before. So I think things like that are important to recognize.
All right. Any rebuttals on this subject? Anyone else want to have anything else to say? No? Seeing none? Okay. I've been thinking about this herb and herb thing. I'm going to take a survey of the audience. Well, I'm going to ask you if you say, first raise your hand if you're going to say, if you say herb and then herb. So first, if you say herb, raise your hand. Oh, wow. And then switch it around. If you say herb, raise your hand. So Martha Stewart is not in the room. All right. I think we've resolved that. So now I'm told it's time for closing statements. And so, let me just first say Ms. Nelson will be first on the closing statements. You can applaud, by the way, here. Also, too, I would just ask you guys to please not run away the second the closing statements are done. I beg of you to at least a couple of more minutes after that, just for a little business we have to do. We ask your indulgence. And so, for closing statements, well, first, Ms. Nelson.
Why elect Jessica Nelson to Hoboken's Board of Education? Because your child deserves better than a school rated 212 out of 337. Because failing scores and rising taxes are not acceptable to you. Because you want someone aggressive enough to fight for your child, yet collaborative and open-minded enough to work as a team with current board members in support of Superintendent Dr. Johnson. Vote for Jessica Nelson because you want results. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Benway.
For me, it's quite simple. Taxes are up, enrollment in the high school is down, SAT scores are down, PARCC scores are down, CUSAC scores are down. We need a change. I stand here before you as a concerned parent of the Hoboken School District. If you feel that the district is heading in the right direction, I feel something different. I'd like to bring a fresh outlook on secondary education. I'd like to bring a fresh outlook to the district itself, make it a place that I don't have to consider leaving to change locations. I'm from Hoboken. I'm born in Hoboken. I hope to die in Hoboken. I hope my kids can call Hoboken their home for the rest of their lives. I want to bring a better school district than what we presently have. I do want to thank the people on the board that have served. Anyone who wants to do this, I think, deserves a round of applause because they do go out there and put their time on the line.
And that's time.
But I just feel like it's time for a change. Thank you.
See, they may have been applauding for you to die in Hoboken. They may have been just applauding that, and we don't know. It's hard to say. Ms. Evans.
Sure. So I'm going to just deviate a little from what I planned to say because I felt that a really important question didn't get asked tonight, and that is past volunteerism in the district and attendance at board meetings. I attended board meetings for over a year before I was on the board. I volunteered in the schools. Irene has a long history of volunteerism. She served 7 years on the board and has missed one meeting. I've missed no meetings during my tenure on the board. When I look out in the audience, Sheillah's there. She's at my child's school volunteering. The folks to my right, I have never seen at a single Board of Education meeting. They both said that the fact that this audience is here shows your interest. Mr. Benway, real interest shows that you're here. Well, the fact that you can't even make it to a single board meeting when you know you're running is not acceptable to me as a district parent or a Board of Education member. The first board meeting you go to shouldn't be the board meeting that you get sworn in at. I'm proud to run with Irene and Sheillah. There's an old saying that says, I know who you are by who you walk with. And I'm proud to walk with Irene and Sheillah.
And that's time. And that's time. Ms. Dallara.
Sure. I want to thank the QLC for this opportunity, Mr. Bob Bowden for moderating, and the Elks Club for hosting this nonpartisan forum. It has been a wonderful experience speaking to voters in the campaign trail and hearing about the concerns and hopes for Hoboken. My hope tonight is that you're able to see that our slate, the moms get things done, as I like to call it, show their expertise, their track records, and their love for our community. We are involved district parents. We are the true partners to Dr. Christine Johnson, and we'll always have her back in words and in action. Vote 124.
Okay, Ms. Rossini.
First of all, not that I feel like I need to make excuses for whether or not I've been at board meetings, but my son has a host of medical issues, and therefore it is very hard for me to attend meetings after my full workday. So I just want to put that out there.
Shh.
The only thing I have to say is I have a really good friend. She has 3 children in the Hoboken school system, and she's really had great experiences. Her oldest son is now in 8th grade. He's been a part of the Johns Hopkins programs. He's done extremely well. She's not considering sending her son to Hoboken High School. Whether this is perception or reality or both, we really need to make positive changes to the high school. We need a board that will say, let's take the good parts and improve them and make them better, rather than saying this is good enough. The facts are the majority of the people do not want to send their kids to Hoboken High School. The families move out of Hoboken because they feel they can't send their kids to Hoboken High School, and that enrollment has decreased year after year. We need change. Vote 365 on Election Day, and thank you all very much.
And Ms. Sobolov.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's a very interesting discussion. I believe that strong public schools equal a strong community, and the Hoboken Public Schools are getting stronger every day. As the veteran board member here, I have a very long memory. Maybe some people don't remember the days of illegal contracts, no-show jobs, audits with 30 violations. Now, all these amazing things that we talked about tonight were built on a firm foundation of openness, transparency, open government, giving us the freedom to take that money and put it back into the classroom, innovative programs, facilities improvements, science labs. The parents, the changes are real, the parents are feeling it, there's a renewed pride in the community. We need board members who are engaged, involved, dedicated, and committed, and have the time to come to the board members, and I believe to the board meetings. And I am incredibly proud to run with Jen and Sheillah. And we have a proven track record of working hard for every student every single day. And we will, if elected again, we will continue to move forward together. Thank you.
Everyone, please, a round of applause for Mary Kelly and the QLC team.
Thank you all. Thank you to the candidates, not just for being here tonight, but for your willingness to take the time out of your regular everydayness and seek a position that is so important to all of us here in our community. To the public, there are so many other events that are going on this evening. It's so heartening to see so many people who stayed the entire time. So thank you so much. Bob, again, very much appreciate